Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today we're going to do a little bit of a different video. Now, I've done a little bit of cooking and preserving in videos in the past, but I am not an expert cook. I'm not an expert food preserver. And so I try to steer away from these as much as possible because I don't want to give out, false information or information that might harm people. For example, I've been working on my canning methods so that I eliminate the methods that I've been using that are not safe and trying to align myself a little more with the USDA suggestions. Maybe next year, after I practice a little bit more and hone in my skills a little bit more, we'll show you a little bit more about my preserving. Now, I've preserved for almost 30 years. I started in the early 90s when I was young, when I had young kids, and I've canned for a long time. But I never really paid attention to the safe canning methods, even though I did use the Ball Blue Book. And the canning methods have changed throughout the years, so that's why I'm trying to just kind of more hone in on the more safe methods rather than on my tried and true methods. But today we're not going to be long-term preserving anything. Today we're going to be something else that is new to me that I don't think is going to show you anything that is really harmful. So what we're going to do is we're going to preserve a lot of the peppers that my brother had me grow. So I'll link another video up above that talks a little bit more about why I grew these peppers, what they are, and kind of a little bit about why I'm doing this. So I collaborated with my brother, and he wanted me to grow some peppers for him and to preserve them. Now, he lives in a small apartment. He doesn't have access to a garden, and he's always wanted to try these peppers. I mean, he's purchased them in the store, but he's always wanted to try them fresh, and he's kind of like a connoisseur of things. So the peppers that he chose, a lot of them are very region specific, and they have very specialized uses. And I did a lot of research, and I'm trying to preserve these peppers as authentic as possible. Now, being somebody who doesn't really like peppers that much and who really doesn't know a lot about these peppers, everything that I'm doing has just come from my research and not from lived experience. So if I am preserving some of these peppers in a way that is not the way it's supposed to be, please don't be too offended. I'm doing this for my brother, and I'm hoping that he likes them. So the first thing that I'm going to do is show you the peppers that I have, talk a little bit about what we're going to do with them, and talk to you about why I chose the recipes that I did. And all the recipes that I used, I will link down below. Now, another reason why I have a hard time bringing people into my kitchen is my kitchen, usually when I preserve things, is a disaster. What I like to do is I like to have everything out beforehand to make sure I have everything, all the ingredients, all the pots and pans. And maybe this will drive some people crazy, but I really like to have everything out so that I can see it first, just to make sure that I have everything and to make the process go a little bit smoother. So these are some of the peppers that I harvested yesterday. Some of them we'll be using today and some of them we won't. These are some more of them. These are peppers that I've had in my freezer that I've thawed and that we're going to be preserving today. And several of them are kind of specialized peppers. So let me show you the ones that I've finished first already. Now this beauty right here is an Aleppo pepper. And I'm so glad I decided to research things first. So Aleppo pepper is from Syria. It's a very specialized pepper from Syria, if my research is correct. And it isn't really found many other places. Now it is quite hot. I'll put the Scoville units on the screen because I can't remember right off the bat. And it has a very specialized way of being dehydrated. This is a dehydrated pepper. And let me go show you where I dehydrate my peppers. So this is my grow room. I've got a few things growing in here. But this is my drying rack for peppers. I've used this for several years to dry peppers. I love growing sweet paprika, and I dry it here. And so all of my hot peppers right now that were going to be used for flakes and powder are up here. Now these we will not be doing today because they're not ready and I don't have enough. But this is going to be made into a paste. These are ahi peppers. We have an ahi panca and we have the ahi mirasol right here. We've got quite a few of them out in the garden that are still ripening, and once everything is ripened, then I'll do the recipe for these. These, I think, are going to be used to make some sort of ahi paste. And that's going to be a fun one, and maybe I'll take you along when I do that. These are my chimayo peppers. These, I'll go show you what they look like now that they're flaked. So as far as my research has found, they basically use Chimayo just for chili flakes. These are some of the berry coffee that are not yet dehydrated. So I am going to, but this is one that I'm going to be using today, and it's used to make the Berbere Seasoning. We're going to do that. That's going to be a very specialized one. These are from, if I remember correctly, these are from Ethiopia, actually. So these are an Ethiopian pepper, the only African pepper that we have. Chimayo is a South American pepper, as are, I think, the ahi peppers. So I dehydrated my Aleppo peppers in my grow room, and then what the recipe that I found said is that you dehydrate them down partway so that they're mostly dehydrated, a little bit flexible. I put them through my high-speed blender right here. Then I drizzled just a few drops of olive oil. The goal, they said, is to make sure that the olive oil is soaked up by the peppers. Drizzled a tiny bit of olive oil on the peppers, sprinkled a little bit of salt, the Redmond real salt that's right here. Then dehydrated them in my dehydrator until those flakes were completely, totally dry. They were a little bit oily, and that's what they say, is that Aleppo peppers are a little bit oily. And then I put them through my blender again, blended them up as much as I can. I don't have a coffee grinder to make it more fine, but this is the Aleppo pepper powder. Now, I do have to tell you that I did make a mistake. I really actually like this a lot. It's not that hot. And I think part of the problem is, if you notice, this is my paprika powder that I made last year. And I had 2 jars, one with the, that had half of my Aleppo peppers in it. The other one that just had a small amount of paprika before I ground up some more. And I accidentally mixed them together. So this has got a little bit of paprika in with it, and it's just got this amazing, fruity, not too hot flavor. And I think my brother's only going to get a half a jar. I think I'm going to keep half for me. So this is amazing. I love it. So these are my Chimayo peppers. Don't mind my writing. These were dehydrated until they were totally dry, and then just put through my food processor. And these are Chimayo pepper flakes, and these are so hot that I cannot use them. So these are going to be going to my brother. Now these are my dehydrated Berbere peppers. We're going to be making Berbere seasoning with those. These are Bequino peppers, and we're going to be pickling these, so that should be fun. I'm very interested to see how these turn out. I don't like the flavor that much fresh. It's just got an interesting flavor to it, but they might be good pickled because I really do like pickled peppers. These are very specially for my brother. These are Calabrian peppers. They're absolutely gorgeous peppers, but if you look at the Scoville units that I'm going to put on the screen, those are definitely ones that I'm not going to use. So I found a recipe that can be canned, that can be preserved, but we're not going to preserve it. We're just going to make it and make these refrigerated. Now the Calabrian peppers, my brother asked me to have them preserved in oil. So now I did a lot of research on preserving these peppers in oil because he really, really wanted them preserved in oil. And there are a lot of YouTube videos, there's a lot of recipes that show you how to preserve these in oil. But what I did find is the risk of getting botulism from peppers preserved in oil is extremely high. So we're not going to preserve these in oil, but I did find a recipe that does use olive oil, vinegar, and lemon juice. So that will make it safe. It will also make them safe to can. So we're going to utilize that recipe, which has a lot of the ingredients that my brother showed me in the bottle that he wants, and hopefully he'll like them. So that's what we're going to be doing with these. The next thing we're going to be doing is Sriracha sauce. Now this is going to be just put on the stove. I'm going to make some for my brother and some for me. This is stuff that I actually use and like. We're going to see how hot it is because supposedly these peppers that I used are quite hot. So we're just going to make it and see how it turns out. Now we're also not going to preserve these. I've got some hot sauce bottles, so we're just going to stick them in the refrigerator. These have been in the freezer while I've been waiting for enough to ripen to do these recipes. Now the next ones are going to be really interesting. These have also been in the freezer. These are all the hottest peppers that I really couldn't find a use for. These are, I think, the Griff 9238, the Scarlet's Chili, and the Roxa, and the Fidalgo, I'll put the name on the screen. Roxa, I can't pronounce it. But these are all those peppers. They're very, very hot, and I figured they might make a good hot sauce. Now, to cut the heat a little bit and to add a little bit of fruity flavor, and frankly, just so that I could find a way to use them up, we're going to be adding the habanadas. The habanadas really do have a good fruity flavor. I don't like them fresh that much, but what I've been doing is putting them in my tomato soups that I've been canning, and it just gives the soups a lot more depth of flavor. So these are really actually quite good, and we're going to be putting these in with this hot sauce. It may turn out disgusting, but we're going to let my brother try it and see if he likes it. Now, when we make the hot sauce for these, we're going to do it 2 different ways just to see which one my brother likes. We're going to split these up. Half of them are going to be fermented, and half of them are going to be done on the stove. Now, these are just all of my regular hot peppers. We've got some sweet Hawaiian. We've got, let's see what else, hot Hatch Lumbre. We've got some big gems. You know, they're all not extremely hot, but these are peppers that we're just going to make into a hot sauce that maybe I might end up liking. So we're going to ferment half of them, and we're going to do half on the stove. And the last one is one that I might regret, but that I saw on Acre Homestead, and she went on and on about how much she loved it, but the Sugar Rush Peach Peppers. So I have some Sugar Rush Peach Peppers here. I know they're probably way, way, way hotter than I can even tolerate, but we're just going to try it and see. We're going to make some sauce. We're going to add some of my homegrown peaches to it, and then we're also going to do some plain. There's not a lot here, so I may have to do one of those recipes another day. So that is basically it. I think the recipe that we're going to start with first is the Bequino peppers. Now, because these are new recipes to me and because I have not done these before, I'm not going to walk through step by step showing you what I'm doing. I'm not going to be talking a lot on camera what I'm doing. I'm just going to film it, and then at the end we'll show you what the finished product looks like, and then you can take the recipes that I've linked down below and make them your own. So we'll see you when these are done. So here's the accumulation of all my efforts. We'll talk about the fermentation stuff in a minute. So, took a few hours yesterday, probably about 5 hours yesterday, and less than an hour today. But I think it was worth it. So let's go through and talk about these things a little bit more. Now I added the paprika, even though I did not do that this year. I did that last year. Very, very simple. You just dehydrate the paprika. I do it under my grow lights. You could do it in a dehydrator. You could put them in I guess it's called a ristra, where you hang the peppers together. I cut these peppers up once they're dehydrated and then vacuum seal them in a jar. And then when I need the paprika, I blend it in my blender. The blender makes it kind of more of a flake than a powder, but it doesn't matter to me. I really like it. I guess if you had a coffee grinder or something like that, or a spice grinder, it would be finer. We did the Aleppo Peppers. We talked about that, how we added a little bit of oil after it was dehydrated down partway. Oil and salt, and then we dehydrated it the rest of the way in the dehydrator after it was lightly flaked. And now we put it through the blender again. Still flaked, not powdered, but that's okay. Very good flavor. And like I said, I mixed it with the paprika on accident, so it's quite sweet, very little heat, but it's just got this really deep, rich flavor that I absolutely love, and I'm going to be probably growing these every year and doing that. Now the Chimayo peppers, which have been were my favorite flavor peppers, raw. You know, too hot at the top, like I explained in my last video, and I'll link a video up at the top that when I harvested these. But this is just way, way too spicy for me. This is going to my brother. The flavor is really nice if you can get beyond the spice. Now this berry powder that I just made is amazing. This seasoning, oh my word, the scent is just like pure heaven. The flavor is just really rich, and I can't even explain it. Now this is coming from somebody, you know, and I feel like a little bit of an imposter. I'm not really into regional foods. You know, like I said, this, you know, in the past videos, this is more for my brother because he's more into that, and I researched the recipes and did it. So I feel like a little bit of an imposter. I tried to make these recipes as authentic as possible, but this is being authentic without me having any knowledge, any background knowledge whatsoever, and never having tasted these before. So I'm sorry if this is kind of a little imposterish, a little, you know, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be making this video, but I've been having fun with it. But anyway, the flavor is amazing on this. I absolutely love it. But the heat is way beyond what I can tolerate. So I've got to figure out, you know, maybe I need to, I don't know. Tell me if there's a way to overcome aversion to spiciness, because this would be worth it. It is, oh my word, that is amazing. Now, one more thing about this recipe. This is a simplified version of as authentic a recipe as you can get without being in the country. The simplified version got rid of the wet step. So there's a wet step where you use fresh onions, fresh garlic, you know, you pulverize those and then you dehydrate it and then mix them in. Now, I do have to say the garlic was from my own homegrown garlic. The onions were just dehydrated onions, not from my own. But the simplified version, I don't know. I don't know how it could taste any better than this. But then again, I have not been to Ethiopia and I don't eat Ethiopian food. But this makes me want to go to one of the restaurants and try it out. So over here in this video, we did the hot sauces. So pardon my handwriting, but this is the medium hot sauce, and this is fantastic. I can tolerate the heat. So this has the sweet Hawaiian peppers. It has a few big Jim. Let's see, what else is in there? I think that's about it. So this has all my milder hot peppers, and the flavor is really complex. It's really deep, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't do hot sauces, so maybe other people won't like it. I really liked this recipe. So this is really deep, rich flavor with the heat that I can tolerate. The Sriracha Sauce was, I'm linking all the recipes down below so you can see where I got all these recipes. But this one is really good. It's not that hot. I compared it to the Sriracha sauce I have in my refrigerator. Flavor's a little bit different, but the spice is comparable, not unbearably hot. Really, really good sauce. I like this. So now I have made 3 of each of these. I'll get one, my kids will get one, and my brother will get one. So that's those. Now the hot sauce, I knew that I would not be able to tolerate this, so I only made 2, one for my brother and one for my kids. This is unbearably hot. And the peppers that went into this are all of my peppers that I said I didn't know what to do with because they were so hot. The Griff 9238, Scarlet's Chili, the Roxa, the Fidalga Roxa, and let's see, the Boa Amarela. They're all in here. And then I added, to make up the bulk of the weight, because I didn't have enough peppers because it goes by weight, I added some habanadas because of the fruity flavor and to kind of tone it down a little bit. I don't know if it toned it down at all, but it added some really fruity overnotes. So the flavor is pretty good, but I can't get beyond the heat on this one. Now the Sugar Rush Peach was surprising to me. This was really, really good. This being the hottest pepper that I had, I assumed that the heat would be intolerable. But the heat is comparable to my mild hot sauce. It's not that hot. It's something that I can tolerate. It doesn't have the peachy overtones that I thought it would have. It's just kind of a medium hot sauce with just a little bit different flavor profile than the other ones. I wish I could explain it, but I'm not a hot sauce person, so I can't say it in the words that maybe people who love hot sauce would understand. But anyway, this is definitely worth trying. I liked that one. I have not tried these. We're going to give us a minute and then I'm going to try one. These have only been in the jar overnight. These are going to be refrigerated, not canned. So these are I think it's called Sweety Drops. These are the, Bequino peppers, if I pronounce that correctly. This right here, I will not be tasting. This is for my brother. This is the Cubanelle peppers. These need to stay in the refrigerator and probably won't last too long. But the recipe does have a lot of vinegar and lemon in it, so I think it should last several weeks at least. So I'm going to ask my brother what he thinks of these. And then the other things that I didn't do on this video that I just wanted to show you is my hatch peppers, I guess you call them the Numex peppers. I roasted all of the ones that I had, took off the skins, and then vacuum sealed them and have been keeping them in the freezer for use when I need them. And those have turned out really good. And this is how I preserve my sweet peppers. I vacuum seal them, and then I separate them according to color. I have orange ones, I have red ones, green ones, and they all stay separated according to color, and then I mix and match as I need them. So the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about was a little bit about the stuff I use, like the stuff I use for fermenting, the bottles that I found, because I know there'll be questions in the comments about that. Now, I'm not sponsored by any of these. These are just things that I found, through research and shopping on Amazon and stuff like that. But let's talk about the sauce bottles a little bit. Let's kind of show you what they look like. So I found these just by going on Amazon and looking for hot sauce bottles, and I'll link these below. I'm not getting any commission on them, but I looked for just the most cost-effective with good reviews hot sauce bottles, and these are what I found. And they came in a package of 12, and one of them actually broke in transit, so I only had 11 of these. But these are ones that I'm definitely going to be purchasing again. The other thing that I looked for is I really wanted to have a way of storing my spices. You could store your spices anyway. I did them in Ziploc bags for a long time. You can put them in the little tiny, what are they, quarter-pint jars. But I wanted real actual spice bottles, and you can find those also on Amazon. I'll link those below. Once again, I just looked for the most cost-effective with the best reviews. So this works beautifully. I love the size of these. And then next I wanted to talk about fermenting. Now I am absolutely not a fermenting expert. I've finally been able to do sauerkraut successfully. Let me show you my latest batch. This is my latest batch of sauerkraut. It's really tasty. It works really well. This took me probably 3 weeks of fermenting to get it to the point that I like it. But sauerkraut is basically all I've done for fermenting. So take this information with a grain of salt. Matter of fact, I don't know if my fermented peppers are going to work out very well. Although, okay, so there are some bubbles. I was a little bit afraid because I did these yesterday, and my cabbage, my sauerkraut, it immediately foams and bubbles, and I put them in a dish. I put it in a dish because sometimes it will bubble to the point where it bubbles over a little bit. Now these are showing signs of bubbling, so I think they're probably fermenting correctly. Let's see what this one does. Yep, there are bubbles in this one. Okay, so we're just going to leave them and just watch them and make sure that they do okay. Now, if you want to know how to ferment peppers, just look up safe recipes. Now, having said that, the recipe that I'm using, I got off Pepper Geek, which is going to be linked below, and it was made for both canning and fermenting. So I'm not going to can, like I said, the ones in the refrigerator, the ones that I did the regular method. And I'm not going to can these. We're just going to try and see if we like the fermented taste better. So we have both the different types of peppers. We have the hot one right here, and we have the medium sauce peppers right here. So we're just going to see which one we like better, the regular recipe or the fermented recipe. Now for this little fermenting lid right here, I actually found these at a local store. It's called Basil and Rose. It's owned by Bayuna Tomolino. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Beautiful lady. She was so amazing. She's just a major contributor to the gardening and landscape community here in Utah. And unfortunately, she passed earlier this year from cancer, and her store is now permanently closed. But I loved Basil and Rose. So I really, really do miss her. I learned how to do sauerkraut from a class at her store. But when I was there for that sauerkraut class, she had these fermenting lids, which are these ones right here. And this is the second time I've used them. The first time I used them was on my latest batch of sauerkraut. And I really like how they work. They have a rubber seal and a tight lid, so you don't have to have your own lid. This is the lid that they provide. And then what you're supposed to have on a larger jar is this cup right here. This cup helps with overflowing. You put it on top of the weight. So actually what I have in here is I have a weight. I have this weight, and I'll show you where I got this weight in just a minute. It's on top of the peppers, and that pushes them under the solution, because anything that's not covered by a solution is going to mold and not ferment correctly. So I have the weight. If I had a larger jar, I could put this on top of the weight without any water or stuff in it. It has a little notch in it, and any overflow will go into this first. Then on top of the lid, you have this airlock seal. So you don't want oxygen in your bottle, but you need to let the CO2 that's formed, that's why it has bubbles, it's forming CO2. You need the CO2 to be able to escape. So this forms a watertight seal that allows CO2 to escape, but oxygen and bacteria can't enter. So I really have liked these. My sauerkraut had no issues. It took me a long time to learn how to do sauerkraut, and I ruined several batches by trying to just do the regular methods without any special equipment. You don't need special equipment, but I did the regular lid and burped the lid every day, and it just never worked properly. So I really like these. The other ones that I found at Bayuna's store is this one. Now this one I also have made successful sauerkraut with. It's just another airlock seal, but the reason I liked this is it has 3 lids. You provide your own jars. This is what the lids look like. It allows the CO2 to burp out, through this rubber gasket, but it doesn't allow oxygen or bacteria in. And then it came with these weights. You need to be able to submerge your produce under the brine, like I said before. And these work beautifully. You don't have to use specialized weights. I've read a lot of places that talk about using Ziploc baggies with brine in it. You can use water, but the water may escape. If the baggies break for some reason or leak, then you're going to leak water into your brine solution. But if you fill the baggies with the brine, then if it leaks or breaks, then you just have brine with the brine. So that would also work. But anyway, so this is what I like to use because I have had better success with it. Not totally necessary, but I figured you guys would ask, so this is where I got this stuff. So that is it for this video, and I'd love to hear from you and hear if this kind of stuff is interesting. Even though I'm not an expert, even though, you know, I probably might be doing things wrong, I want to know if you'd like to see more videos like this, and so that we can learn together. Now, I do have to say these type of videos do take a long time to make. They are difficult to edit, and they take just a lot of time. I've kind of had in the back of my mind, I don't want to do a lot of preserving videos, a lot of cooking videos, until I hit about 10,000 subscribers. Now, the reason for that, and this may sound a little greedy, but I do have a reasoning behind it, is if I hit 10,000 viewers, I figure I'll be earning enough money to be able to reduce the amount of work I have to do on my other job. I'm a landscape designer. I do landscape designs and consults, and that takes up most of my time. If I do all these videos and I'm not earning money, like I do not earn money right now because I don't have enough subscribers, it takes away from the time to do the job that actually earns me money. So it's kind of a catch-22. So I was figuring if I hit the 10,000 subscribers, I can start doing more and more of these cooking videos. But if you're interested in that, I would love to start doing that. If you're not interested in it, let me know, especially since I am not an expert in these things. You know, maybe there's a lot of great YouTube channels that I follow. I love Living Traditions. I love Three Rivers Homestead, and I absolutely love, love, love Acre Homestead. Those channels do a lot of cooking, and I have learned so much from them throughout the years. And I would just kind of I would love to show you guys what I do, but I just don't know if it's going to be worth it for you. Let me know what you think. So hopefully this video has been helpful for you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.